B.E.T. is not even owned by black people. The Redstone family, they're Ashkenazi who own B.E.T. And now look what's on B.E.T. I mean, a lot of it's negative stereotypes and stuff like that. If black people own their own media, they wouldn't allow a lot of negative stereotypes even on there. Now let's go back to American black culture back like 1950s, 1960s. They had very low divorce rates. They all dressed really nice. They were all polite and everything like that, you know, and with any culture. But everything started going downhill when they had somebody else take control over their media and started profiting off their own demise. Because I remember even hearing Kanye West talking about this, like 1990s. That's when all this like gangster stuff coming out.
Yeah.
And they had all these like self-demeaning music videos and everything like that. Missy Elliott and calling herself a bitch. They're all using the N-word and stuff like that. It's all like self-depreciation. But you have another group of people destroying somebody else's culture and making a ton of money in the process.
Right.
And that's not right.
And they're making them look bad.
B.E.T. and all that, they should own their own media. Everyone should own their own media. But when you don't own your own media, that's when others get to exploit you for their own profit and to your own demise, man.
And they control you, basically.
And they control you. They control which way you vote and everything through that, too.
Got a clip that I just looked at. I'm going to go into it a little deeper, maybe this weekend or whatnot. Now, somebody was interviewing this guy, or talking to this guy in terms about B.E.T. And the thing is, a lot of black media, especially the solid, gets targeted. Now, where B.E.T. is right now, B.E.T. ain't been decent in decades. Even the founder said it. You know, when she sold it off, I guess they could have kept it. But I'm not going to hold that over black folks' heads if you want to sell something, because the thing is a lot of times people will tell us, don't sell it. And we should gatekeep and keep the things that, you know, maybe things like that. Maybe we should do that a little bit more. Here's the thing. When other people get things that are successful, they sell it and they might buy another company, like software companies and stuff. Somebody might make a software company and then they will continue to prosper and they will build it and they'll invest in other things and they'll sell it. Kind of like if you think about the Dr. Dre Beats ordeal. So I'm not going to harp on them selling it too bad. But see, maybe there was other shareholders that owned B.E.T. and said, well, the direction that this is going, I'd rather get rid of it. But other people, especially the dominant society, they will sell things all the time. Now, looking at the last decade of B.E.T. and the material and all of the things that have been brought out, they say tell you how to vote, all of that.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party, because the left had nowhere to go.
So, yeah, they tell you how to vote. Now, when he said that kind of blew my wig off a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. When he said they tell you how to vote, that made me think.
Get Get your booty to the pole, 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 yeah.
Did we get your attention? Good.
So, you really not gonna vote?
You know it's more than just the president on the ballot, right?
Check it.
A district attorney decides who to prosecute,
Including whether or not to go after dirty cops. Do you know who elects the DA? We do.
But you don't want to vote.
can't make it rain if you locked up on some bullshit.
Want trades and coding taught in our schools?
Then vote for the school boards that will prepare us for the job market.
Want to end cash bail?
Well, then vote for the sheriffs and county officials that feel the same way you do.
But you talking about, oh, they gonna pick who they gonna pick, shawty.
Ferguson just elected their first black mayor.
You know how that happened?
It's clear black lives don't matter to some of our current elected officials.
If they matter to you,
Then don't let other people decide who's gonna run your community.
get your booty to the poll.
Get your booty to the poll.
Get your booty to the poll.
Get your vote, stretch.
For information on how and where to vote, as well as resources to find out who's running where you live, go to getyourbootytothepoll.com.
To the pole, get your booty to
I had to show that piece too. Do you remember that? Get your booty to the poll. So basically, you got some janky looking, questionable looking strippers. And that's what they were pandering to. So basically, that's like a quasi, okay, let me go. That's like a quasi, racial trope that they're using to say, well, because remember in Birth of a Nation, what was Birth of a Nation about, y'all? I want y'all to think about that. They weren't just talking about blacks. They were talking about black brute rapists. All right? So, what they're saying is you Negroes are prone to sex. You can't help yourself. You're of a bestial mind, behavior, thought process, and attitude. So, when you think about voting, let's just put some naked booty on here. Let's not put a Felicia Rashad. Let's not put a Debbie Allen.
In freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they not like us. Nah, they not.
Got a call. Yeah, I got a quick call. So they're not saying, hey, let's put a Debbie Allen. You remember this was their final straw. Their final blow was they tried to use Not Like Us. And Not Like Us, what's that North St. Paul? I was gonna say, what's South St. Paul PD doing over here? They tried to use the Not Like Us song, which was really an anti-Sambo song and an anti-colonizer song at best. And you had Collard Green Harris that was basically, they had to get Taraji. They had to get, somebody really from the culture that's undeniable. Taraji, she's a foundational. She's from the culture. She ain't gonna say no janky stuff like 20 acres and a mule. And, I'm not gonna harp on Taraji too bad. But when she, you could see how desperate it looked. Like it was like, well, we can't do anything else. We're gonna lose bad, so let's last minute get this Kendrick Lamar song and somebody that's really from the culture of the Freedman lineage to basically, and that didn't work with B.E.T. So, black folks have been looking sideways about B.E.T. a long time. Fat Joe ain't hosting it no more. You could have got anybody besides Fat Joe. You could have got somebody a whole lot more relevant. A lot of black folks they don't want to rock with Joe no more. You see what I'm saying? So when I look at B.E.T. and I think about the term that I coined, the megalomaniacal masochistic mainstream media, man, B.E.T. for the last, I don't know, I was talking to my homie Titan one day, and I said, man, what year, bro, do you remember when music was just done? What year was that? He said it was headed towards around about the 2000s. I said, okay. 2000s had some good albums, but you got to understand, you're talking to a musician. You're talking to somebody that was listening to, you know, A Tribe Called Quest, and, you know, I mean, he you know what I'm saying, G-Funk and all, you know, so you're not talking to a guy that just start listening to the Baby or Lil Durk or some shit like that. You're not talking to somebody like that. You're talking to somebody that actually could play a keyboard and knows major sevenths and all that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So my homie is gonna have a different perspective on what music. You know, we be talking about stuff like Van Gogh and Eric Satie, and you know what I'm saying? We not just talking about somebody that just gonna get on the phone and mumble their way like they're the Ebenezer Scrooge Ghost of Christmas Eve. You know what I'm saying? You got dudes getting on the microphone sounding like Grinches. That's not what we talking about. We talking about, you know, DJ Quick, real musicians, and Ant Banks and Swab House and you know, I mean, these guys was using live instruments, man. You know what I'm saying? That's you know, so, you know, there's really nothing that B.E.T. They haven't really brought anything positive to the game. If it ain't like some ratchet tattoo hair horse twerking hood rat that's on the forefront, or they'll get a Cardi B, or they'll, you know, there ain't really nothing, you know, they're not really trying to, you know, really put across no Felicia Rashads and stuff like that. They're not doing that, man. So good riddance. 106 & Park was cool. They were still freestyling and stuff like that. But, you know, even then, like, Rap City, they had to go to the neighborhoods. They went to Chicago. They went to a lot of different places. I remember Crucial Conflict was on there. They was rapping back then. But right now, and there's other things about B.E.T. They made it so ratchet and stank to the point where you can't even really watch it with your kids. The last thing they did with B.E.T., I think where they honored Snoop or something like that, I think that was a little more toned down. That was better than what it's been in a long time. But yeah, it's lost its touch, man. B.E.T. in essence, it's compromised. B.E.T's been compromised for a long time. The founder said it's been compromised. She said, I don't like the way it's going. Now, even though she sold it, but if you're a founder, you have a right to critique and criticize constructively and non-constructively if you engineered it. If I built the car on the production line and I come out and say, you know what? Ford is making a piece of SHI, but I made it. If George Washington Carver was alive, he could critique Ford, because he was in the early engineering phases to make the cars what they are. Therefore, he has a right to critique it. Well, I'm a viewer, so I did not engineer it, but I'm gonna side with the founder. You see what I'm saying? So if they don't ever have B.E.T. again, or another award show, I'm fine. Now, I do feel for some vendors, you know what I'm saying? Because when you look at stuff like Essence, a lot of the vendors ain't want to go back to Essence and stuff. We're getting back to the Essence talk now, where it's been stripped of its originality. It's been stripped of the very basic core principles of New Orleans and etc. But when you strip B.E.T., like the programming, the programming is crazy, and it hasn't been black owned for a while. But you know, the thing is you could get you could get a front man to run it, and if you're really listening to the people, but there's something else going on, it must be an agenda. Because the people that's watching it, if they're taking these offline, I don't think it had to do nothing with a quote-unquote DEI removal and stuff like that. I don't think it was one of those, because they still, but you know, News One ain't far behind. News One is not far behind. But you know, the guy had a point about owning your own media. You have to own your own media to control the narrative. You gotta own it. If, for example, WorldStar, they own that source. Whoever owns that, they own that website. The Shade Room and all that trash. So yeah, I have watched it. I've been on that website, the Shade Room, whatever. Look at the people. Ask where those folks are from, and look at the people and look at their background and do a paperwork check. Are those sites more detrimental to black society, or are they more constructive? And the thing is the only way that we'll be able to determine that is if we outcast them or we just stop watching them. But every now and then we want to watch something ratchet. That's human nature. You're gonna watch some ratchet stuff. You're gonna do that. But we have a choice. People say, well, if we ain't got B.E.T, then what else we gonna have? Well, we have to start developing mediums. Well, they'll probably shut it down. What they do with Tulsa, they burnt it, they picked it back up. That doesn't mean you stop. You see what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to start putting our platforms together, developing new platforms. Yeah, it's not gonna look cool and sexy all the time because you ain't got no white folks running it, right? Well, you know, it looks okay. Rebuild the Chitlin Circuit again. See, we want a big corporation so we can kiss their ass all the time. That's what we want. Let's be honest, y'all. We want the accolades. We want to be on the galas. We want to sit there and before you know it, somebody give you a check and your butt broken. But we've sold our culture out. We've compromised that. We did that. We should have said, no, we're going to do it our way. Because they follow Black American culture all around the planet. Black American culture does not follow anyone else. They follow us. So we could have just said no. We didn't want to do that. So we gonna have to suffer. Bottom line. We just gonna have to flat out suffer. That's how I see it. You know, we wanted the quick buck, want to ride the Rolls Royce, at what expense? So like I say, I'm not glad to see it go. You know, I might watch it a little bit in passing or whatever. I do not break my neck. I have not broke my neck to see one of them award shows in I don't know how long. When they you know, give props to Dre and Snoop and stuff like that, okay, credit where credit is due. But other than that, man, I don't break my neck. I ain't tripping.